Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Fiercely Spiritual podcast. I'm your host, Sandra Ray, and I'm so delighted to have you join me once again this week. So, this week we're talking about a topic that I find so interesting. And even though we're looking at signs that you're progressing along your spiritual path, I think it is wise to note that it's not about where you're at, it's not about reaching some final destination. It's all about the journey, the process, and enjoying where you are and where you're leading to, where you're going to be. So, I think that's really important because sometimes we get caught up in this mentality of having to be something else, having to be better, having to do better. And that's not what it's about at all. But I did want to go through 6 things that I've noticed for myself. And I thought I'd share it with you because it could be stuff that you're experiencing, but not realizing what's happening. So, the first thing that you might notice, particularly this is more so when you step onto the spiritual path, and you might have noticed this happening or you may experience it, is that the first thing that can often happen is that chaos ensues. It's like your life starts to break down, it starts to crumble all around you, and you are probably thinking, well, I've just started doing all this spiritual work, I've started meditating, I've started doing all this stuff. Why is everything collapsing around me? What am I doing wrong? So it's important to note you're not doing anything wrong. It's just your life rearranging itself into an order that is more aligned with this new version of you. So if you can imagine, if you could visualize a building that needs to be renovated. So what usually happens is the building is, maybe there's parts of it that are old, parts of it that are broken down, parts of it that are just irrelevant or need to be updated. And once you have the plans in place, then you can go about doing the renovations. And in order to renovate the building, you're going to need to knock down some walls. And when people experience this in their lives, they think that everything is collapsing, everything is in chaos, but actually everything is reordering itself to come into a better alignment with where you are now going in your life. So just as you would with a building, be patient during the renovations, be patient during that time of seeming chaos, and know that everything is coming together and the result will be something even better. So patience is key during that phase. But if you have experienced that, or if you are going through that, know that it will come to pass, it will end, and something better will come about in the aftermath. So the second thing that you might notice, if you have begun following some spiritual practices, you may notice that you have started cleaning up your diet. Maybe you have just cut back on some things that are toxic. Maybe you're cutting back on alcohol or processed foods or sugar in your diet, and you're just finding that you're drawn more towards organic foods, living foods, juicing, things that are really nourishing for you. And you might even be drawn to cosmetics that have less substances in them which are toxic, or it could be cleaning products for your house. Whatever it is, you might just find that you're cleaning up your diet, your life. And when I first noticed this, well, it first started with alcohol, and it was a gradual process where I was cutting out alcohol and it was becoming less and less. And I think now I have the occasional glass of red wine and I enjoy it. When I say glass, it was before, it probably was a full glass. Now I'd like to say it's a half glass, but it's probably not even a half glass that I can manage. It's probably a quarter of a glass, maybe even just a few sips. But I enjoy those few sips. And I remember seeing an interview with Eckhart Tolle, and I remember him admitting that he enjoys the occasional glass of wine from time to time. And that's fine. It's not to say that you have to cut everything out of your diet. but you might just find you find less and less satisfaction from going out and getting drunk. You might find that you are honoring your body more. And what I found was when I was being drawn to cut sugar out of my diet, I resisted it so much. I was such a sugar fiend. And well, I say a sugar fiend, I probably didn't eat that much sugar, but it was probably less than others, some people, but more than I wanted to. And I resisted it for so long. And I remember it was January a few years ago, and I thought, okay, for the new year, I'm going to give up sugar for the month of January. And I did it for the month of January, and it was fine. But in February, I went straight back to just eating, biscuits and various different things. And I just thought to myself, okay, come on, if I can do this for a month, I can do it for longer than a month, and I can, see how it goes. And now what I do is I eat dark chocolate, and there's a little bit of sugar in that, and I'm okay with that. And I do a lot of baking, so I bake things which are free from refined sugars, and I just enjoy things so much more. It's amazing when you do give up sugar, how sweet fruit tastes and how much you appreciate the taste and flavors of certain things. So you might find that's happening for you, that there's some things that you just feel you need to cut out of your diet, or that you're kind of being drawn, or like me, maybe you know that you need to give up sugar or something else, but you're resisting it. And maybe you just need to take that leap and just see how it goes. Because when your body is free from toxins, and I have a long way to go still, but that leaves so much more space for your energy vibration to become higher and higher, because you're not weighed down by those toxins. So the third thing you might notice is that you begin to honor yourself and your spiritual needs. So you might find, like I was saying, you may have started meditating. You may be drawn to practices like yoga or Tai Chi, or just simply being in nature, just spending more and more time in nature. You might find that you're drawn to things that feed and nurture your mind, body, and soul. And it could be a massage, it could be going to get a treatment, a energy healing. It could be something that you find nourishes your spiritual needs, whatever that is. It could be journaling, it could be whatever you're drawn to. It's not one size fits all. Everybody has different spiritual needs, and what nurtures somebody might not nurture somebody else. So just tuning into those things. And if you have begun doing some of those things, wonderful. If you feel that you're being guided to take up some of those things, just paying attention to what's coming up for you. The fourth thing to note is the fact that you like to stay inspired. So I really notice this. I have to, well, I don't have to, but I choose to fill my day with inspiring content. I would listen to inspiring podcasts on my phone. I'll read inspiring books. I'll take courses that will inspire me and uplift me. And, you might find that you like to socialize with inspiring people. Maybe you like to attend events or workshops where there'll be other like-minded people. There'll be inspiring speakers at it, and that will help to uplift you. You may hang out online in inspiring groups. You might find that that's where you just get, what you need. You get your inspirational upliftment. And, it might be that you simply take time to sit and read, and to cut out all distractions, and to be inspired without the need to be constantly doing things. But the important thing is you realize the importance of staying uplifted. You realize that if you don't fill your mind with uplifting content, then fears and worries and stuff that might draw you down will start to fill that void. So it's like blowing up a balloon. You can blow up a balloon with inspiration, or you can blow up a balloon with fear and worry, if that makes sense. So you can fill that balloon with the things that you want to have in there. And, you know, if we don't do it purposefully, if we don't do it consistently and consciously, then we lapse into old ways of being. We lapse into even just habits that maybe not, they're not the most sustaining habits for us. Maybe they're habits of being in a state of fear or blame or jealousy or suffering. And you might not even realize it. But when you start filling your mind consciously and staying inspired each day, you realize how much you maybe hadn't been in that space of inspiration, and how much it just does you so good to consciously stay inspired. Well, that's what I find. And on days when maybe I don't get a chance to read or to listen to something inspiring, I do find that I missed that element of inspiration. And of course, we can be the source of inspiration for ourselves. But what I find is sometimes if I am having a bad day, or if I am feeling, fear or worry, that just simply tuning into an episode of a podcast or reading a book can just help to bring me back to that state of release, of relaxing into that peaceful center within me that I know that is there, but maybe I just need a little help getting to. The fifth point is you respect your boundaries. So maybe it's that you had a lot more tolerance in your life for drama or for fear or for media stories that are just, inciting worry or fear. And you're feeling that you're just less and less drawn to those things. You respect your boundaries by not engaging with the drama, not engaging with the fear-based stories, not engaging with the people who maybe don't uplift you, those people who, draw you down, and being okay with just taking a step back from all of that stuff, taking a step back from being in that state of fear that could be induced by reading a story in the newspaper, or by listening to the news, or by chatting with somebody who is in a state of fear and worry and draws you into their drama. And that's something that I notice so much, where people can be drawn into drama, and I've done it myself. And it's not your drama, it's not your fear, it's not something that belongs to you, but others who are going through it feel the need to draw other people in to support them in keeping their drama going. So just being aware of that and respecting your boundaries. And you probably find that more and more you are respecting your boundaries, and you are more mindful of the things that you read, the people that you are with, and how to keep yourself just a little bit distanced from those things that you don't want in your life. The sixth thing is that worries and fears no longer consume you. Now, it's not saying that you never have a worry or you never have a fear. Yes, they will still come up, but they don't consume you. And it's like they're there, but they're more background noise. It's like you can observe them rather than getting sucked into them. So, for example, the other day I noticed some fears coming up. It was this fear of not being liked. And I remember I was just watching it. I was observing it as it was coming up. I knew that it was probably something from maybe childhood. I don't even know what. It could be that somebody, I felt rejected in some way. It could have been that somebody said to me, maybe it's a child, no, you can't have that, and I felt rejected. Or It could have been something else. I don't know. And the point is, you don't need to know what the source of it was, but to know that the source probably is from childhood, and that what you're experiencing now, or what I was experiencing, it was like just a remnant of that fear or that feeling of rejection that maybe was still living inside me in some way. So the thing that triggered it, I was able to see that as a release. It was triggering it, so it was bringing it up for release. And even though I felt the fear that was coming up through it, I didn't get sucked into it. I was able to observe it. I was able to recognize, okay, this is something from the past. I was able to just take a little bit more of a backseat and just allow it to be, and just to nurture myself and allow myself to be kind to myself, not to try and get rid of the feeling, but just allow it. And of course, when you allow things, they usually disappear quite quickly, which was the case. So just noticing how you react to fears and worries. And if you find that you're less and less consumed by fear, you're less and less drawn into worry, it's like a worry might pop up, but straight away you recognize that this isn't real. This could be something from the past. This is just a story I'm telling myself. And you're able to recognize it and just get back on track, get back, focused on your inspiration or whatever, you want to fill yourself with. Whereas before, you might find that you were drawn into it, and you could have been drawn in for days or weeks or months and hanging on to that feeling or hanging on to that worry. And then the sixth thing is that, we did the six things. So they were the 6 points, but what I wanted to remind you is that, as I mentioned, this is a journey. There's no final destination. And it's not really, when I say progressing on the spiritual path, it's not really progress in its truest sense, because what's really happening is that you're just remembering more and more of who you really are. You are remembering that you are perfect and whole and complete, and you're just returning to that state. And it's just realizing that there are greater and greater levels of oneness to realize, and just enjoying every moment of it. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you would like to stay uplifted and inspired, I would love to help you, to support you. And my members group, the Fiercely Spiritual Family, the doors are currently closed, but we will be reopening the doors soon. And if you want to find out when, you can get on the wait list to be the first to find out. You can simply log on to sandraray.com/waitlist, and you can register your details then, and you can be the first to find out when we reopen the doors. So thank you once again, and I will see you in next week's episode.